Hi there, Kirk McDowell with contributionselling.com. I'm here to answer another question for you today. And the question today is how to evaluate sales training programs. How to evaluate sales training programs. Okay, so let's look at the question for a minute. How to evaluate sales training programs. All right, so one way for sure to evaluate any kind of training program is by the fruit. Okay, so by the fruits of the labor, right? So you want to look at the results of the sales training program, and that'll tell you a lot about the sales training program, right? So results come in a few different varieties, right? There are performance results like salespeople come out of the sales training program 50% meet quota within 3 months, or 50% are still working after a year or something like that, right? So you can figure out quota criteria to to decide if something's underperforming, someone or the program is underperforming or overperforming. So that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is the satisfaction level of the salespeople, right? So satisfaction of the salespeople in the program. So I have found, especially if you're looking at the salesperson you really want to have around, right? So not everybody you hire is someone you really want to have around for a long time. And sometimes it takes half a minute to figure that out, right? Salespeople in particular are often very good at doing a great interview, right? And then, when it comes time to showing up on time or performing when you don't feel like it, sometimes there's a little drop off in performance, right? So, but however, mostly, right, if you hire people who are motivated, and it's I'll say so I want to say something about that, right? What you're really looking for is character, right? Character first, right? Character first, character first, character first. You want to engage with people who actually want to have your back. They actually want to perform. They want to get better. They want to be world class. They want to take care of people. They want to build something. They want to engage with the world. They want to expand and learn and get bigger and better and stronger. And that's actually the first and foremost thing you're looking for, right? Because you get somebody with good character and you can train them. They'll listen. They'll care. They'll be interested in upgrading and improving, right? If you character is a word because it sort of tends to denote good or bad, and I'm not talking about character good or bad. I'm talking about character like high integrity, motivation to be a contribution, that sort of thing, drive, willingness to act when they don't feel like it. Oh no, I'm not feeling it today. Well, that's fabulous, but we've got a whole day's worth of work to do, right? So like that kind of character, right? So character is really the number one thing over experience, and but I'll talk about experience also. So the sales training program, right? So setting all that aside, you will run into nefarious characters. But setting all that aside, if you have people on your sales team with good character, they actually want to learn. They want to get better. They understand that getting better is their access to the kind of career they want to have, and to take care of their families the way they would like to, or take care of themselves the way they'd like to. And most professional salespeople understand that training and development is part of that, right? So, how to evaluate sales training programs? One is to make sure that their salespeople are getting what they need, right? So, I think it's a mistake if you're the owner or the sales manager to relate to the sales training program like something you're going to do to them, and because that's just going to create resistance. You're going to learn this just the way, blah, 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 blah. No, I think that's a terrible mistake, right? Salespeople tend to be independently minded and emotional. So the minute you start cranking on them, they're going to crank back, and you're going to have like World War III on your hands, right? So a better approach would be to create the sales training program as a service to the salespeople. What? That might be radical. Go ahead, take a moment with that, right? So you develop the sales training program to be of service to the salespeople, right? They're the ones who need it. So don't use it as an indoctrination method to get some agenda you've got going on, right? Use it to find out what the salespeople need to make them successful, find out what they want to make them happy, find out, what their opinions are about what could make this team better and more efficient, and the process better, and how to work better with customers. They will have some opinions, they've been out there. And so you want to make the sales training program really for them to empower what they're up to. And then you start to create a dynamic where the team is pushing itself, if you will, right? I've led a lot of teams in sales and in business and in training programs. And one thing I've noticed over and over again, if you let people choose their own pace, create their own assignments, create their own punishment for something, right, whatever, they're usually way more rigorous than you would ever be, right? And it works because they're creating it themselves. So if you ask the team what they need in their sales training program, I bet you'll be surprised, and what they ask for is more rigorous and more difficult and more time consuming than what you had in mind, right? Because you're thinking, oh, what can I get them to do? And then that gets translated somehow, and then they're resisting what you're trying to get them to do, right? But if you give it to them like, hey, I want to do this sales training program, I want to, give you guys what you need and empower you, and I'm really interested, what would make you guys better? What if I wanted to increase performance by 25% in the sales force and the sales team, how would you recommend we do that? And of course, how do we make it worth your while, and so forth and so on, right? So one way to evaluate sales training programs is to find out, is the sales training program there as like a punishment or a indoctrination tool for the owner or management, or is the sales training program literally there to empower the commitment of the salespeople, which 8 out of 10 want to perform wildly. The other 2 are hanging around, and you'll figure out who they are soon enough, right? So that's one thing to evaluate a sales training program, right? One is, how is it impacting performance, right? If the person leading the sales training program says constantly saying how wonderful their sales training program is, but the team is never performing, then there's something wrong, right? Either with the trainer, the paradigm, something, right? Something is being missed. So you have to diagnose, and I'm not saying get rid of everybody, but get to the source of where the mischief is. There's some break in integrity somewhere. Someone is not doing what they said, right? So first thing is performance. The second thing is, do the salespeople love the sales training program? I don't. This may sound immodest, but whenever I've had sales training programs on a sales team, they love it. They can't wait. Right, because I have it be relevant for them. I'll listen to what they're dealing with, and he or she's having trouble prospecting. Let me put together some thoughts on that. Oh man, this person really got beat up on the close last time. Let me put together some thoughts on that, right? And I'm constantly putting in what's actually needed and wanted, right? And they love it. It's like water in the desert, air, whatever, right? Water in the desert. So if your sales training program isn't something that salespeople are running to, then there's a problem with the design of it, or the problem with your thought process of it. Who are you? You're the owner, the sales manager, the trainer. If they're not loving it, you're not getting your job done. Make no mistake, okay? And then I guess the last piece, probably not the last piece, the next piece will be, is the sales training program created around the team and the environment, right? So one aspect is the environment, sales environment. Is it capital equipment or monthly service? Are you selling in people's homes? Or are you selling in people's business? Is it something that they know they want, they're just picking the right vendor, or do you need to educate them on why this service or product is right for them, right? So there's all these different selling environments. Does the sales training program actually address the environment as it is, right? Are you helping the sales team be effective in the environment as it actually is, right? So that's number one. Number two is a lot of companies make a terrible mistake, I think, this is my personal opinion, terrible mistake, but I'm still passionate about it, of designing like what the perfect salesperson is supposed to look like, and then either hiring nobody except the perfect salesperson, or hiring people who are close and trying to bend them and twist them into this perfect image, right? Which, terrible idea. If you just look at professional football teams, for example, they're a good analogy because they're team-based and they're performance-based. Very little politics in football, not none, unfortunately, but very little politics, and it's really about performance. And if you perform, you stay, and if you don't, you go, from player to coach to all of it, right? So it's an interesting laboratory, right? And what did I want to say about that? So really good teams, they don't, what they do is they get the best players they can find. They find the superstars, and they get really good at that. That's a whole conversation. But they find the superstars and then build the strategy around the superstars, specifically around the superpowers of the superstars, right? So if your running back has a particular skill, you start designing plays around that particular skill. All the players, right? So one of the purposes of the trainer, the coach, is to figure out, who are my superstars and what are their superpowers, and then start designing ways to put them in the right situation at the right time to make an impact on the game, right? So just like sales training or sales management, it's really important to understand who your team is, what their superpowers are, and then start designing plays, initiatives, strategies, techniques, training that get up underneath their superpowers and have them win at what they're best at, right? You get somebody who's really good at something, go have them do that. They'll enjoy it and they'll produce results for you. Okay, so how to evaluate sales training program. Let me get the question again. How to evaluate sales training programs. So is it tailored to the environment? Is it tailored to the superstars and superpowers? Does it actually increase performance? Do the salespeople love it, and do they see it as a resource to accomplish their goals and objectives? Okay, so there's some thoughts on how to evaluate a sales training program. I've got some free sales training at contributionselling.com, and if I've left you confused about anything, you can go to kirkmcdowell.com. Actually, just stick with contributionselling.com, and there's a way to get on my calendar there, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Okay, hope you're having a great day. Hope this was valuable. Be the change you wish to see. Give what you want to get, and I hope to talk to you real soon. Take care.